what really happens after. This album is able to tell us exactly what's needed to know from the first line of the song. Now, none of this will really make any sense until we look at the name of this song, Alone Again, a repeat of something that's happened before. So what if I told you this track was the beginning of an end? Let's rewind a little to the moments before this album began. At this point, we know The Weeknd is untouchable. Billions of records sold, being named one of the biggest artists in the world. But right now, this isn't The Weeknd. This is Abel Tesfaye. And Abel is getting ready to go on a date with his girlfriend. And Abel seems a little tense right now, but that's because he thinks it's ready to pop the question. Picture this, a bougie, dimly lit restaurant in Los Angeles. Abel sat down, looking in admiration because across from him sits this woman who I'm going to call Mia. I'm letting you know right now, Mia isn't just any other girl. No, to Abel, she's everything. Her beauty, her personality, she's the woman of his dreams. So Abel, seizing the moment, knows exactly what he's got to do. He looks up, staring Mia right into her glowing eyes, and tells her how much he loves her. I'm breaking up with you.
Wait, what? Why?
It doesn't matter why. I just don't want this anymore.
Hey, I'm still gonna love you.
In that moment, Abel gets up and walks out, disregarding everything he was feeling a second ago as Abel drives away, a single man. And it leaves you wondering, why would Abel do this? But then again, we don't know anything. So what's important to know is that something happened for Abel to have this type of reaction. We cut to a couple of weeks in the future, and we see Abel living the time of his life, surrounded by girls, drugs, and everything else you can imagine. But something about Abel seems off, because he's not really focused on anything around him other than his phone, and he just starts stressing out, telling himself, why isn't Mia back yet? She always comes back. She's not answering any of my texts either. Abel immediately gets hit with regret and tries to drown out that pain of her not responding, but nothing is working. He starts to feel anger for what he did, and this is where the album officially starts, because Abel feels this lie he's been putting up is hiding his true nature, and he starts to think, none of these people are like Mia. He's been in this same situation before. He's not about to go through this again, this suffering. So he's about to escape Mia forever. At this point, Abel is gone, but the weekend has just begun. As the car speeds forward, there's only one place he knows he can escape. Alone Again is an amazing intro track solely off of how good it's able to introduce us to the album's story. From the lyrics alone, he's not really wanting you to hear what he's saying, but more how he's saying it, showing us a guy who did something that he totally regrets. But who is he and how does he affect the story? For now though, The Weeknd taking this trip to Vegas is about to show us exactly how terrifying he's able to become. The Japanese have this saying that says everyone has three faces. The first face, you show the world. The second, your closest friends. And that third face, you don't show anybody. And that is the truest reflection of who you are. Here we see The Weeknd speeding down the highway to Las Vegas, his foot heavy on the gas, telling himself he doesn't care about Mia. Why should he? He's The Weeknd, for crying out loud. But slowly a voice starts to creep up. It's freaking out. It can't stop thinking about Mia. Has she moved on already? What is she doing right now? Heck, who is she doing right now? With one hand on the wheel, he grabs his phone, cars honking as he swerves, and he calls Mia. Keep in mind, they haven't spoken since the breakup, but this feels like the last chance. It could change everything. So the phone rings. Once. Twice. 3. He puts the phone in his ear and starts rambling on and on about how bad he messed up, trying to convince Mia that they belong together, asking if it's too late for them to work things out. He's practically shouting over the sound of the engine, yet she isn't having any of it. At this point, he becomes frustrated and starts blaming things. He goes on like this for a while on codependency and regret, but Mia just isn't listening anymore and hangs up. For a second, there's silence. That was it, his last chance, and he blew it. The car swerves like crazy, his vision blurred by tears. With nowhere else to go, there is officially no reason to go back home. Too Late is not only a great song, but it also acts as a true introduction not to Abel but The Weeknd. He's impulsive, he's not worried about consequences, he just wants to get Mia back, even though he knows he should have given Mia up months ago. So it's important to note the key traits we learned about The Weeknd in this song: regret, dependency, and denial, which are crucial for understanding his journey and connecting the dots as the story unfolds. But with Mia officially out of the picture, what is he going to do now? Hardest to Love is the third track on After Hours, turning into this kind of switch up for the album. The song is softer, almost like a sigh of relief. So, why? Well, so far we've had a song about loneliness and toxicity, but this song specifically does something that pushes the story in the most perfect way: a song of acceptance. After The Weeknd just crashed out over his conversation not going as planned, he continues to drive to Vegas. But after some time of driving alone in the sandy roads of Nevada, all he's left with is his own thoughts, and all he can really do now is think. And this exact moment right here is about to start the turning point for the entire story. Because without a second to question it, The Weeknd stops the car and begins to regret what just happened, really taking a moment to reflect on everything he just did and why he's even out here in the first place. Immediately, The Weeknd takes a step back and realizes what he's done, looking back in the relationship and exposing how toxic it really was. Because now, this gives us a chance to ask the question of why Abel decided to break up with Mia in the first place. And I think to start, we can get the main issue out of the way and say that Abel was indeed the core problem while him and Mia worked together. And adding to that, he describes himself as the hardest to love because of his self-destructive behavior. He feels so trapped in his old ways that this whole time the love has been completely one-sided. But that's not to undermine what this song actually means. See, throughout the relationship, there was always some sort of problems. It's a very opposite magnet situation. But at the end of the day, they both were still together. Now, Abel and Mia knew that the relationship was already falling apart, that it wasn't gonna work between them two, but they still both chose to ignore it, putting all the problems in a circle and continuing on like everything was okay. But over time, those problems would slowly start coming out of that circle, because Abel would continue to do all these crazy things with the knowledge that Mia would always choose to be together. No matter what happened, Mia wanted to come back, always wanting to try again, knowing that what they have is no good. Can't believe you want me. Now, Mia wants to break it off, she really does, but something in her just isn't letting her do that. So now that's a question we have to keep in mind. Why didn't Mia break it off? So that leads us to the final night they were together. Now, it's easy to paint Abel as the villain in this situation for what he did and how he did it, but in this moment, he was doing what was best for the both of them. See, Abel was gonna do what he wanted to, but he knew deep down, this relationship isn't good for her. That 1 second he took to look at Mia, he saw something different. She was smiling on the outside, sure, but on the inside, she was breaking. Crying up behind the smiles. And in that mere second, he did what he knew was best for her and cut it off, knowing that he was not meant for her. This song is almost an apology, but instead of promising change, he seems stuck on the idea that he'll always be difficult to love, making it a confession rather than being a better person. Because instead of saying that he's gonna be better, he says this is why Mia isn't answering. So now he's acknowledged what he's done and he's done trying to convince anyone anymore. And this moment of self-acceptance sets the stage for something deeper. A point where The Weeknd has the power to think and say if he had one last conversation with Mia, he would tell her to just not be. So here we are at the desert. The Weeknd, alone with his own thoughts, just accepted the truth about himself. He's not any good for Mia. Remember, the whole reason he took this trip in the first place was to get as far away from it all. Have a couple nights just to let loose. But after what just happened, is it even worth it anymore? I mean, we saw him go from the worst mental state so far, to him having this revelation about himself, to then actually admitting he messed up. But the thing that confuses him is that they still chose to be together. So now the Weeknd's thinking, if I've been so toxic after everything, why did she still choose to stay? So I think to best understand this song, we're gonna stop focusing on the Weeknd and start focusing on Mia. Something I haven't mentioned yet is that Mia and Abel have been together for years. But what's weird is that the relationship has dips here, here, and here. Meaning that it's been going on and off since the jump. So why? Well, let's look at Mia and how she acted. Every time the Weeknd would do something dumb that led to a breakup, she was always left with two options. Option 1, take the time to find yourself and find someone worth being with. Or option 2, go back to Abel. And you know what she would pick?
You always miss the chance to fall for someone else, 'cause your heart only knows me.
Every time Mia and the Weeknd would break up, she would always try to find that connection again with another man, but she never gave in. Why? If the Weeknd isn't someone worth being with, why isn't she allowing herself to move on and find someone else?
They try to win your love, but there was nothing left.
Well, for Mia, the love was so toxic, she now has a spoiled view on being with someone else. What if they do the same? My heart belongs to one man. So Mia is going around not knowing if she'll ever be able to find that connection again with anybody else. So Abel here, hoping that him and what he's done in the past doesn't get in the way of her finding someone better. Real, genuine love, and be happy. Now we've reached a point in the story where we're starting to see a change in character. The fact that he's even able to let go and tell Mia to stop coming back to him is showing a lot of development. Also being able to admit he's not the same person he used to be. Immediately he starts getting flooded with regret. I can't go to Vegas now. What's the point? I've accepted what is. I can't go home either. Look at the time, I could barely keep my eyes open. If only there were a small, cheap, local place I could actually try to get some sleep. The eternal transition from Scared to Live to Snowchild is an important one because the arc from these 4 songs are showing a new version of Abel. A better one where he's learning he wasn't really the best. But then again, we're only 4 songs in. We know that this isn't the end of the story. So theoretically, something about this song could change the entire narrative of his journey, but for better or for worse. Snowchild doesn't waste any time explaining what is actually happening.
I used to pray when I was 16. If I didn't make it, then I'd probably make my wrist bleed.
This probably sounds confusing, but you have to realize what state Abel is at right now. Not only did he lose his girl, but he also became someone who's frustrated with his life and who he's become. Where did he get to the point where he doesn't want to go back to LA, but he doesn't want to go to Vegas either? He could already tell in his heart that this isn't how he wanted his story to pan out. So here, he thinks the best way to understand how he got to this point of destruction, he needs to go to the beginning. We go back to a 16-year-old Abel out in the cold winters of Toronto, Canada, who at this point, him and his friends are willing to do anything to move to LA and make it big in the music industry. So here is where we start to understand how he got to this point exactly. Because this younger Abel didn't just want to make it in music, he needed to make it in music. The reason being, this kid is homeless. So the amount of time and vulnerability that goes into making his music meant that there was no other way to go. Fast forward a couple of years and he's finally made it. He's accomplished the goal of the come up. He releases a bunch of music and now is living the dream. Everything he wished he had when he was younger is now in the palm of his hands. The women, the drugs, the endless amount of money.
Jet so big, got a business and a coach.
And you might be thinking, isn't this exactly what he dreamed of from when he was a kid?
Order plane tickets, Cali is the mission.
Well, he's gotten everything he's ever wanted, but at the same time, he hates this LA lifestyle. This guy literally turned his dreams into reality, but something about it, he just can't take any of it anymore. He feels so empty. He owns a $20 million mansion with a customized pool, and he's never even once set foot in it. Plus, when he goes outside, the paparazzi never leaves him alone. He's put his blood, sweat, and tears to make it to this point, and all he ever sees is fake. He just wanted to make music, not all of this. He tells himself, shouldn't I be happy? Instead, he just feels out of place. Success did not bring him inner peace. The constant pressures of fame has taken everything from him. And now, he knows the only thing he's got to do is Escape from LA is the second part of Snowchild, and right off the bat, the importance of this song should be extremely clear to you. Abel wants to escape from LA, and you might think it has to be as simple as that, but the song's meaning goes deeper than anyone could have ever imagined. Now, I think to really understand this song, we need to realize the significance of everything that's led us to this point thus far, because not only does it help us recognize the character's actions, it creates a sense of identification to why this guy acts the way he does. Since the beginning of the album starts with the man breaking a woman's heart, to then looking for a way back into the toxic relationship, to then understanding his mistakes, leading to him letting go, all leading to this song right here. And Abel at this point is beyond frustrated on the epiphany he had on the last song. So realizing that it's been the cause for not only his relationships to crumble, but him being someone he can't even look in the mirror. And while in some degree we're able to empathize with the Weeknd here, I don't think we're fully looking at the entire picture on what it's really done to him. So this song takes us back to Abel living in LA, and at this point he's got Mia, he's got his music, but it all seems to crumble because of one word: temptation. See, as Abel became more popular and the rise of the singer's likeness began to increase, so did the attention he would receive from everyone around him, especially women. And I'm not talking about random women from a small town in Virginia. No, these are Kim Kardashian level LA women. And while Abel would never go out of his way to chase these women, if they wanted a piece of him, they can have it. And they always wanted a piece. So he knows his own issues, but he still makes the destructive decisions, trapping him in this cycle in LA he's never been able to escape from. And it's not like he completely disregards Mia though. He knows that she's levels beyond any random girl he met at a party. She's different because she didn't care about all these material things Abel had. She just wanted his undivided attention and affection. And that's why Abel fell in love with her in the first place. That despite having everything he wanted, he is totally empty without Mia. So fully knowing that he needs this girl and depends on her, Abel does something that completely helps us understand why this guy really needs to leave the city. And at some point, Abel realizes that if he doesn't change his lustful ways, Mia's gonna have enough and leave forever. So Abel decides, that's it. I'm done with these girls. I'm done messing around. I just want Mia, and that's final. But then an LA girl walks into the studio, and immediately that rush of the temptation kicks in, and the Weeknd is left with two options: A, finish the song and not ruin the one person who understands him, or B, risk it all for a girl he doesn't even know. Now to him, all LA girls look the same, but he does it anyway. And in that moment, the cycle restarts. So now the Weeknd's able to acknowledge this in the motel and see that the only thing that's ever felt real to him was her. Why would anyone be dumb enough to let go of someone like her? She's gotta feel the same way, right? That phone call didn't mean anything. I don't wanna just get her back. I need to get her back.
You don't want to die.
We now continue with
world-renowned singer and actress Mia Grayson was just spotted out with her new boyfriend just outside of Los Angeles. And let me tell you, if I were that ex-boyfriend of hers, I would not be happy right now because man, is she the perfect woman.
How can anyone imagine possibly fumbling that?
I think there's absolutely no better way to explain this song than screw this. Look, the times of regretting love and not liking where you live are gone because the Weeknd came here with only one goal: to lose his mind, gambling everything he's got, taking the hardest possible drugs, being around the most beautiful women imaginable, literally becoming that psychotic party monster he was hoping not to become.
And I'm back to my ways 'cause I'm heartless.
But at this moment, he can literally care less about any problem, especially over some chick. I don't know if they've forgotten who he is, but he's the Weeknd. There is no reason for him to care this hard. I mean, look at all the women he has around him. Literally, every single one of these women are willing to do anything to be with him right now. Will he end up with them? No, but that doesn't mean he's not gonna sleep with every single one of these women. He doesn't care. He's got the money, he's got the drugs, going back to his old ways, embracing all the temptation around him. He was trying to let go of those things, but now he's just giving in. He enjoys it. Realizing this, his plan right now is to head into this party, get totally hammered. Somehow, some way, Mia ends up at this party with him, and all of his past thoughts start to flood in, and it just sets him off. In that very moment, the dope really kicks in hard, and the true colors of the Weeknd start to show, and we just get flooded with the truth. Every single problem and reason in his life hits him all at once, and he just breaks down. For a brief moment, the Weeknd confesses that he knows all the horrible things he's been doing. He knows he messed up with the Temptations in LA. He knows he messed up breaking up with her in the first place. And he definitely knows he messed up with Mia. No, I can't lose Mia. She was the only person who understood me. I can't be alone, not again. Abel's sitting on the side of the road fighting his own thoughts, with a pain in his body that feels like death. This whole time, Abel's been trying to mask himself, mask that person he's become behind this suit, but all for what? He's gone completely overboard. He's always gonna be alone, always gonna be unlovable. It's meant to make you think, behind all the drugs, behind all the money, this guy is broken. He's making it seem like he's living the time of his life, like this is exactly what he wants, but this whole time he's just been alone and sad, all because he doesn't want to face his issues head on. But just as Abel is sitting on the floor, he realizes something. She's gonna come back. He's gonna keep acting like this because he loves it. Sure, he's sad, but he's going to keep doing this because when Mia's back, then he'll be happy and he'll stop forever. So he gets up and does the only logical thing he knows to forget that he just saw the only person who understood him. Take more drugs. If there's one song that deserves to be called the most tragic yet most pivotal off of the album, it's Faith, because here it's able to help us understand the why to everything from the one person who's essential to the entire album story, Abel. Here we see him at the lowest point of the album. After one of the most unhinged nights of anybody's life, Abel starts to do everything in his power to get as messed up as possible to forget who he just saw. Even though for anyone else this would have been beyond the point of OD, for him, it's barely phasing him. And one thing we can say about how he's been acting so far is that he's constantly abusing his power and emotions, loving to act irrationally in the moment and dealing with the consequences later. So Abel starts trying to get back that high he was feeling in Heartless, but nothing is working. So he just goes ballistic. And this part right here is where we learn absolutely everything. Since we begin to understand that the main reason for all of this happening, the entire album's existence, is because Abel hates the idea of being alone. And the only thing he knows what to do with that is blind it with self-harm. Not in a physical sense, but in a spiritual one, where he's always ruining his chances of redemption, which turns into this never-ending cycle of self-destruction. And that's what faith means. He's so deep into this cycle that at this point he's lost faith in never changing. He's lost faith in himself. And a lot of the time I pointed out the difference between the Weeknd and Abel, but at the end of the day, they're still the same person. And really all this suit symbolizes is his never-ending descent into chaos, because we start to see that he's been putting up a front on being a better man, a changed one, because deep down, this is exactly who he is, especially in the way he thinks of Mia, because truly, he doesn't want Mia to move on. He wants her to suffer alongside him, wanting her to be sad and sorrowful with him, not letting her become her own person, but pulling her down so that he doesn't feel alone. And it all comes from the real meaning of this song. He's not happy with who he is, and all he knows what to do with that is project it into others. And so now things like love and drugs that once gave him his escape are now the very same things that are making his downfall. Eventually in the night, he's got it. A high of highs he's never felt before, but this time it feels different. It's not euphoria, it's something else, something wrong. A pain so bizarre pulses through his mind, warping everything around him. His heart begins to race, then slow, then race again. Then, his body hits the ground as everything around him turns black, and we watch as he just lays there alone. Blinding Lights is literally one of the most popular songs of all time, but behind all the synthesizers and energetic tone is probably the darkest story yet. So our story begins here, with The Weeknd driving the empty streets of Vegas at night, but something about him feels off. And you might be thinking, wait, how does that make any sense? We just saw him in the back of an ambulance, barely clinging onto life after taking too much of the devil's medicine. How is he all of a sudden here, driving? Well, it actually connects perfectly with our story. As Abel's being rushed to the hospital, he's fading in and out of consciousness, the lights of the ambulance blinding him. But eventually, he loses control and closes his eyes one last time. And the second his eyes close in the ambulance, they open in Vegas. And all we see is him already driving fast through the night. And there's no question as to how or why he's here. He just drives, like his life depends on it. And from the look of his face, it does. Because there's a sense of urgency, like where he's going, he needs to get there now. But where is he going? Well, he's driving to see Mia. Now, I know how weird that must sound after everything that's happened, but him driving to go see Mia is for a very, very important reason. He might not make it to the hospital. Because this song doesn't take place in the past or in the future, it's happening right now in the back of that ambulance. But it's all happening way up here in his mind. And okay, sure, that's interesting and everything, but why is he driving to Mia? Before we answer that, we need to focus on something deeper first. By this point in the story, Abel's fully embraced that character he's created. Sure, he's on the verge of death on the outside, but in the inside, he's living the dream. But him being so reckless and being happy about it is showing a regressive state, the person he once tried to escape from. And the only reason why he's done fixing it is because the things that Abel always hated about himself, he's not able to let that go. And all that's missing from his past is her. So as Abel drifts in and out of consciousness, he's fighting a mental battle, and that is what this song is about. Think of it like a mini game in his mind. The drive represents his life and not falling into a coma, and reaching Mia is his shot at waking up, his chance to be with her again. And if he doesn't reach her before the sun rises, he'll fall into a coma he might not wake up from. That's why it seems so urgent. He can't let his final interaction with Mia be the last time he ever sees her. He needs to redeem himself. So he drives faster and faster. The Weeknd's grip tightens on the wheel as he speeds by, but the sun slowly starts to creep over the horizon. He shakes his head, trying to stay awake, but his eyelids feel heavier with every passing second. And then the city is gone. She's gone. He tries to move. Nothing. His body doesn't exist here. This isn't just sleep. Abel's gone into a coma, and now he's trapped in his own mind. Right from the start, you can hear that In Your Eyes sounds very unique from any of the past songs, switching from this high-paced driving song to this calmer, mellow tone. And trust me, I know how crazy this situation looks right now, but it's all to represent the insanity this guy's going through and how far he's willing to go. So we cut back to the Weeknd in mind jail, as I like to call it, and after literally fighting for his life and not caring about anything other than living the party life, has officially gone into a coma. And while he's not able to say anything physically out here, in his mind, you can only imagine how much this is pissing him off. Now, you might think that not being able to do anything about this situation would give this stuck mind Abel time to reflect on his past actions, but you'd be absolutely wrong, because immediately he thinks of ways to get out of here and go see his girl. Now, I know how often it's been brought up on The Weeknd not giving up his love with Mia, but Mia does not want to be with The Weeknd anymore. She has her new man and her new life, so by the look of it, she doesn't seem to be in any rush to come back. However, that's not how The Weeknd sees it. See, the last time Mia and Abel were together was at this restaurant, and obviously things didn't go as planned. But regard what was happening in that moment, all he was choosing himself to see and hear was that little sparkle of hope in Mia's eyes and the words, "I still love you."
It doesn't matter why, I just don't want this anymore.
Hey, I'm still gonna love you.
Ignoring all of her inner sufferings and whatever else she was going to do with anyone in the future. To hear those words come out of her mouth is all the proof he needed to know that no matter what's going to happen, she's going to come back. So this entire time up to this point, Abel's been holding on to that, blinding himself from what he accepted earlier in songs like Hardest to Love, telling himself, yeah, sure, you're trying to end it with me, but I'm choosing to ignore it because I want you to get back together with me. And I know you feel the same way. Thus, he sees the truth, but he becomes ignorant to it because he doesn't want to face it. Now, what we're learning is that he isn't someone who isn't just clueless. He's deliberately creating his own version of reality to avoid pain. He's not ignoring the truth because he doesn't care, but because he's scared of losing something important. And this gets even worse because Abel knows what type of person he is, and looks at Mia in her eyes, knows that he isn't good for her, and just stays blind to it. So that's why he acts the way he does. It's not of nothing else rather than he knows Mia wants him back. And if there's a will, there's a way. Pressing his forehead against the metal. Think. If this was a prison, then there had to be a way out. Then he understood. We're in the mind. This cell isn't real. It's a construct, a cage built from something trying to trap him here. And if none of this is real, then I'm not staying. Without a second to spare, Abel gets up from the hospital bed and knows that this time he'll get Mia back. The party he saw her at could have been hours ago, and he could only hope that she's still there. So he does everything in his power to get back to that exact moment. As his heart echoes through his body, a constant reminder of how dumb it is to go back to his ex races his mind. But in a blink of an eye, it all becomes overpowered by the voice of Mia, confident that she's gonna feel the same way.
I'm still gonna love you. I'm still gonna love you. I'm still gonna love you.
Somehow, he makes it back to the party, and time is of the essence, so he starts looking for Mia, hoping to have one conversation with her. And then
I saw you dancing in a crowded room.
so with his plan now in motion, he begins to go up to her. But then a second of hesitation hits him because he sees Mia there, laughing, having fun, thriving without him.
You look so happy when I'm not with you.
And at first it makes him think, maybe Mia is better off without me. I can't remember the last time I saw her smiling like this. As this is happening and before Abel even has the chance to confront her about how he's feeling, she turns around, shocked to even see him there.
But then you saw me, caught you by surprise.
So she looks at him, and all that you see from her is a single teardrop slowly run down her face. Nonetheless, all Abel got from that is she hasn't moved on yet. She's still waiting to be with me. So he continues to walk towards her. But just as he begins to inch closer, Mia walks towards him. And you can't even imagine the look on his face. So not expecting this to happen, he stands there knowing that Mia is about to run into his arms and they'll be together forever. She walks past him, not even acknowledging that he's right there in the party. Abel is shocked by this, telling himself that he knows that Mia's only doing this to protect herself from getting hurt further, not even thinking that maybe the distance between them has just gotten too far. But Abel is in desperate need for some closure.
Could've asked me why I broke your heart.
So he follows her and goes up to her. And this is where we move from self-awareness to a plea. Instead of congratulating her, he pleads her to come back, desperate to fix the past and begging her for a second chance. And this is what Save Your Tears means. For her not to be sad right now, but to keep that sadness for someone else later and stay happy with him in this moment. Even though he admits he's the main reason for causing all this pain. Yes, you should move on, but that doesn't mean you have to. But Mia isn't budging. Everything he's saying to her is going in one ear and coming out the other. And he's able to see this and actually realize what he did. The damage he's done is permanent. She actually isn't gonna take me back. Why isn't she convinced? So with one final plea, Abel looks Mia in her eyes and tells her, please come back to me. Mia looks back at him with a pain behind her eyes, fighting back her tears, is only able to whimper out her last words to him and say,
No.
and gets lost in the crowd. He's officially lost. So he stands in a corner and really just sits there with his own thoughts. He's been holding on to so much hope this entire time, and for what? She doesn't even want me anymore. But then it makes him realize, I have to move on. So just as the Weeknd is about to leave and start a new beginning, he turns around one last time to see Mia. Repeat After Me is the only interlude on this album, and it stands out because it gives us a glimpse onto how we're supposed to view everything. Because as we just saw, Abel spoke to Mia for the first time since that phone call crash out he had earlier, but this time more vulgar, more seeking to fill his needs rather than hers. And just as she told him there, she tells him again here straight to his face, I don't want you anymore. And for a second, it seemed like he was willing to accept that and move on until he decides to look at Mia one more time. She's already wrapped up in that new guy's arms, and Abel starts zoning back into his toxicity, just watching them with the most negative energy you can imagine, telling himself how everything she's doing is just wrong, and it's somehow revolved around him. And right there, everything starts to click for him, because he starts saying, oh, so that's why, huh? That's why you rejected me. You didn't want me to see you with your new side guy. I get it, but he doesn't know you like I do. I know who you really are. I know the truth, and the truth is you don't love him. You love me, and you know it. Clearly, you can see that the jealousy and denial is just eating him up. Now, we have to remember that not too long ago, Mia was willing to come back to Abel no matter the situation. And that's the mentality he's fixated on. Yes, he admitted to being a horrible person. Yes, he admitted to Mia moving on, but he wants her back now. So there shouldn't be any difference. So the night continues and Abel just stands back, staring at them. Then slowly you start to notice that the Weeknd becomes happy about it, because now this is only proving to him more that her thoughts are fully controlled by him, thinking to himself that the only reason she's even doing all of this is to get back at me. So there's no way that the love she's giving to the guy is in any means genuine, making himself believe that everything Mia's doing right now is revolved around him. You're doing this to forget me, get back at me for everything that I put you through, but you love me. Venting all of these toxic thoughts to himself as he watches them spend the night away, trying to convince her to have the same mindset. And that's what Repeat After Me means. Brainwashing Mia into thinking that everything he's saying right now is true. I have to leave this guy and get back with him. So right then, the Weeknd leaves the party, knowing that his other half will eventually come back, and just walks around this subway, happy, having nowhere to go, having nowhere to be. And in that very moment, something is about to hit him. Something that I promise you, you're not ready for. After Hours is the most important song See, this whole time, The Weeknd's been doing everything in these songs with the mindset that Mia, through everything, is going to eventually come back. But after that last song, are we even supposed to believe that anymore? But The Weeknd, on the other hand, is thinking the complete opposite. And he's completely influenced his entire mindset that whatever Mia ends up doing in a couple of months, heck, a couple of days, she'll be right there alongside him. But time goes on after that party and Abel just starts acting stranger than usual, looking paranoid, rough, in the worst physical state we've seen him in this entire album, and starts holding a grudge. I mean, he literally came out of a coma to come get her. Mia was that purpose he had for everything, so for her to actually be gone, it just seems impossible. No, he's not going anywhere. His heart forever belongs to her, so her heart belongs to him. And I don't think we've seen him this adamant before. See, what's important to focus on is the isolation we're really seeing him at. He's all alone. That's important to note since that's when his thoughts really start to take over, good or bad. Because a little after, a bit of self-realization starts to kick in. He starts telling himself he wants a family with Mia. He hasn't been able to sleep without Mia. Every minute of every second, Mia is on his mind. Acting like a sort of joker, laughing to himself, looking over his shoulder, paranoid. He knows how he's acting, but he's so far into this persona, all he can really do right now is just go with it. But it's meant to make us think maybe he doesn't believe it either. Like there's something building up inside, but he just keeps pushing it further and further down. But before he can have another second of thought, everything that's been building up since the beginning overflows, and we get the most raw and uncut version of him we've ever seen, regurgitating every single thing that's happened so far, but this time, how he truly felt it. He is the bad guy. He is the person not worthy of any love, and just has this total breakdown. And immediately we can tell he's been lying. He's been lying about letting Mia go. He's been lying about change. He's been lying about everything. It's without a doubt showing that the struggle of Mia not being there with him anymore is really getting to him. Going as far as telling us why he takes the drugs he does is just to get closer to her in his dreams, and the moment he wakes up, he's mad that she isn't there, so he does it again. Sleeping with countless women to distract himself from Mia not being there with him, exposing how much he relies on her to be a somewhat stable human being, something that until now he's taken for granted. He acts like he doesn't care, like he knows Mia still wants him, but deep down, he cares more than anyone, making himself struggle and fight with the truth of how he actually feels. And it's all just loneliness and despair. And because of that, he's been putting up the persona of The Weeknd. Because of that, he's in Vegas. Because of that, he's acting like Mia isn't actually gone. And unlike before when he was pleading Mia to come back into his life, here he's crying out to her to come save him, promising that this time he'll treat her better, this time he won't break her heart. But he's lied so many times, we as a viewer have no idea if this is just another lie or if he's finally telling the truth. But then he opens his eyes and finds himself in the middle of the subway just laying there. He has no idea if he's lost touch with reality or if that actually happened, but what he does know is that he never really took the time to think like that. And in a moment of desperation, he starts screaming for Mia not to move on, but it goes from screaming to the sky to a cry for help. A cry for Mia to come back and save him, both mentally and physically, promising to do better. But he knows she's not here, and she just isn't his anymore. But he's never going to feel fulfilled without her. So with a whimper in his voice, he tells himself, and with this final cry, we just feel the sense of this complete loneliness. But in the end, nothing changes. Nobody's coming to save him, and he's left there all alone. The Weeknd's arc throughout this entire story has been all over the place. But one key thing that you're without a doubt able to put together is that we're witnessing one of the most two-faced bipolar things that's ever happened. For example, he wants to end it with Mia because he knows he's a bad person, then immediately regrets it and wants her back. Then he doesn't want to be in LA because he doesn't like who it's turned him into, but continues to stay the same person everywhere he goes. It's situations like these that make us, and probably himself, ask, what does he actually want? But from the state we're at right now, we notice something is off about this final song that's about to change that forever. He can't move. The sheer blunt force of that hit has him stuck, and all he can do is lay here on the cold, hard floor of the subway station, feeling a sharp pain in his head. He looks at his hand and blood starts spreading around him, with every breath getting harder than the last. But all he knows is that he's scared out of his mind. The Weeknd is dying. And at first, all he can think about is how he doesn't want to die, trying to get up, but he just won't budge. He looks around with his eyes wide like he's hoping for a miracle to show up, but nothing. Nobody's here. And instead of spending his last moments being with someone he loved or whimpering out his last words of regret, he's in the middle of nowhere, all alone, looking up at the empty light. And in that silence, something changes. Because now we see him content, chuckling at the idea of this happening. Why is he okay with this? Well, it all comes from his transformation. At first, it seemed like The Weeknd truly wanted change. He was trying to break free from the temptations he was known for in the beginning, but as the album went on, we see him completely giving into those same temptations. And now he knows internally, even though he wants to change, he's always going to be like this. There is no change. Desperately wanting to escape this endless loop, but he just can't break free. Everything he's done has led him to this exact moment, so he just stops trying to fight it. He's done with the same life he's been living. He doesn't want the glory that comes with being famous anymore. All the fake people with the same agendas. He doesn't even want to get high anymore because all it's ever done is made him feel worse. So he just wants to feel something, feel alive, feel normal. So the blood keeps spilling and the pain keeps growing. And his mind starts to accept something he didn't want to admit. He didn't want to die, but deep down, it also feels like it was always meant to happen this way. The fear was still there, but something else came with it, a kind of acceptance. He looks at his hands, smeared in blood, shaking uncontrollably. His head falls back against the floor and his eyes fixate on the ceiling. As his heart beats slower and slower, a wave of cool settles deep inside of him. As his breath shortens, we go into The Weeknd's face as we see a single teardrop fall from his eye, knowing that he doesn't have to suffer anymore, as we see The Weeknd take his last breaths, alone, as we fade into eternal darkness. If I had to put After Hours into one word, it would be about a man and his idea of wanting to be in control. Be in control of the decisions he makes, the people in his lives, but it doesn't always pan out like that. See, if we look at the character of The Weeknd, it makes sense why things happened the way they did. Because while The Weeknd is willing to change, sure, he's more focused on the thought of change rather than change itself. Again, temptation. He gets high off the idea of the women around him, the drugs being used, rather than settling down with his true love. And that's why this death is so important, because for a second you have to stop and say to yourself, do you think if this death wasn't the outcome and fully committed to Mia, that eventually he wouldn't have given in and started this whole cycle of the album over? Of course he would, because we just learned he's never satisfied. Not with Mia, not with fame, not with the person he's become. He keeps chasing more, but the crazy part is that he doesn't even know what more looks like. He just knows he wants it. And the only truly satisfying way to end it is by having the character die. So this ending, in a weird way, is the perfect ending because he's admitting that this is the only way to stop the cycle. Killing off that character of The Weeknd, metaphorically or for real. He dies knowing that he's in somewhat control of his actions. As we followed an already broken man as he tries to numb his pain, but everything he does just made it worse. In the end, he becomes the villain. Not because he wanted to, but because he didn't know any other way to cope. And by the time he understands that change is always possible, it's already too late, as we see the Weeknd die. And that is what really happens.
You've been in the dark for way too long. It's time to walk into the light and accept your fate with open arms.
You are now listening to 103.5 Dawn FM.